Here comes the sun. I just feel it rising. I'm so happy to be here. And I told Richard, I said, I can't wait to see what comes out because I'm not doing life the old way. And so I'm really more open to an expression flowing than revealing what I've prepared.
Beautiful.
So we know it's good, and we know that it's all well. And I've been in Unity like over 30 years. And, that's like 88, 89, when I discovered through my dear husband, Unity up in Ventura. And I had known the Daily Word because a dear friend like my Earth Mama at a job long ago gave me that little book when I was really in a place of great suffering. I have to be honest with you, I really didn't get it. I didn't understand the language. Growing up Catholic, it was a real shift. But every now and then I'd get a phrase or a moment, an affirmation that would really help and bring some sunlight into my life. So over all the 30 years in Unity, that's a lot of affirmations. It's a lot of prayers, a lot of denials, a lot of books, a lot of classes. And I've really come to understand that every day's different. And what works for me today, I might have to shift tomorrow. What I've learned is that when we go through the deepest, darkest, most sorrowful times in our life, there is good there, but we don't feel it, and we don't see it. But the teaching is that we know it's there, and we know the sunshine will come, that joy comes in the morning. And also that deep, profound spiritual teachings come in the darkest of night. That comfort, that sense of comfort. That sense when you don't know what is going to happen next. When you're very fearful. But you know something good will come out. And so for me now, looking back over really the past 6 years, because between caring for my mother and then going right into Ed's Cancer Challenge, it's been 6 years. And there have been amazing moments through all of it. And today I'm really feeling that sense of the joy rising, being with you. It's just, yeah, it's good medicine. It's good. It's really good. And thinking back over, the time with Ed going through the major surgery and everything that he went through, and you all couldn't possibly follow it all because I couldn't possibly tell you all about it, and was trying to send little messages on Sunday mornings, and sometimes I couldn't even think of one good word to say. So I said nothing. But you know what was okay? Is that I felt your prayers always with me. And sometimes in those early morning hours, I would just be sitting in silence, and you'd send me a zinger, and I could feel it. It was amazing. I am remembering an amazing time. It was a horrible day. Sounds like it was a dark and stormy night. It was a horrible day. And it was at Cedars-Sinai, and it was like 9 days after Ed had this 10-hour surgery, and we'd been like this up and down all week. He was rising up, and then he had a stroke. And then he was coming back, and they did a scan and they found he had a brain tumor. And then there was one darn thing after another. But you know my Eddie, he would just keep rising up. And he'd say the darndest things like, I really think we should go back to Italy. It's like, that is a great idea. That is a great idea. So it was, I remember that this was on Sunday night. The surgery had been on Monday. And sleeping on a cot at Cedars-Sinai in those rooms, it's not good. Sorry. You don't sleep. So not sleep all those days and have a long day. And I was at that point of just depletion. I didn't have one raw nerve left. So Spirit picked me up and took me out in the hallway, and I just leaned against the wall. I wasn't looking for anything. I think that's what's good. Because when we're not looking for something specific and we're just looking, it's amazing what you see. And so I came to realize in that moment, I hadn't known where I was. So I was in the intensive care unit for days at Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And to the right were all the rooms where the people had had heart transplants. That was going on here. And then here was Ed, and then all these other people, all ages. And I came to realize right above us, the helicopters were landing and people were being brought for care. And all of these thousands of employees were there to serve, to help, to facilitate healing, and to just stop and look and realize in the chaos and the hubbub of people everywhere, people running, back and forth, all individuals, each the face of God, each of them here, just like me. It's a divine appointment. And then it was at that moment I had stopped, I was looking, I could hear, and I started to listen. And I heard music, and it was angelic. It was the most amazing sound. I thought someone was making their transition in that moment. It sounded like the angels had come and were escorting someone home. I was convinced that's what happened. So I breathed it in, and I decided I would go towards that music, going down the hall in the parade of humanity, and turned a corner, and there was a woman. She had a harp. I'm not exaggerating. It was about 8 feet tall. It was painted. It was old. And the woman painting, or playing the harp, was in her 80s, maybe 90s, long silver hair, and playing this harp, their eyes closed. It was like that. You can't orchestrate that. So I stood and I listened and I watched, and I was amazed. First, that it was so lovely, and then that people were walking by, and they didn't see her, and they didn't hear the music, and they were talking and laughing and planning, and some of them were running, and all of this humanity was going by, and she sat and played that harp. I was dehydrated from crying. It was so beautiful. And afterwards, I went up and I said, I don't know how to thank you for this moment. And she said she had been with the Vienna Symphony decades and decades ago, and that this was her volunteer service now, that she bring her harp to Cedars. And this was on a Sunday night, 8 o'clock at night. And I said, you've really touched, you comforted me. You really touched me tonight. She said, dear, do you have a loved one here? I said, yes, my husband's here. He's really having a very hard time. Would he like some music? Would he like some music? I said he would love some music. So I went back to the room and I opened the door. I said, I have a surprise. And she came in with that harp. He was flabbergasted. And she played for him. And he was transported. It was a healing. It was so lovely. It was so beautiful. There was no hospital. There were no monitors. There was nothing to do but stop and look and listen. It was so good. It was so good for that moment. And then she said, I'm going to play something for you, and I want you to imagine the Andes Mountains. I want you to imagine a big condor flying over the mountains. And you know Ed, with the power of imagination, he was like so there, and she's playing, and he's one with the condor, and he's like ready to start flying out the window. It was an amazing thing. It was an amazing thing. How could that be? How could that be in the middle of the toughest, hardest, devastating time, that something so beautiful would come? Because I stopped. And then I just looked, and then I listened. I really think, I know that those moments are around us all the time. But we're running, we're racing. Our mind is ticking off the to-do list. We're forgetting to breathe. We're grieving. We're crazy. Yeah, we're crazy. But if we can just stop and don't look for, just look. Just look. And don't listen to, but just all of us together, just a moment of silence. Isn't it an amazing thing? Do you know, a couple of days before Ed made his transition, he said something to me that just soothed my soul. He said, I am at peace. I am at peace. Mr. Go and Get 'em. I am at peace. And his son Paul was with us, and he said, I've never heard my dad say that. I said, Because he was always moving. He was always going. But it's like the goodness in those last few days. I'm at peace. And then he said, I feel my life force leaving. But I'd like to teach 5 more years because that was it. And I said, then you will. But it'll be in a different dimension. It'll be on the other side. And all your students will be listening. And you'll be there to broadcast your message. And that was a great moment. So going through that grieving process, it's heavy work, I have to say. That's another talk. But so many lessons. And I do believe, the depth of that grief, the rebound joy can go higher. Yeah, we rebound. Yeah, and we come up. And it's not like that, but it's more like this. And that's how God intended. That's how we're created. And that's good. And that's a good thing. I'm cleaning out all Ed's 55 gazillion books. I'm finding notes. He was always writing a note. Always putting something down on paper. He got me in that habit too. I found something that I found helpful. The only God you'll ever need is the one you harbor inside yourself. It's not outside. It's all inside. It's in us, never leaving us. Some days we're more aware. Some days we stop. Some days we look. Sometimes we listen. In our Lenten book for today, Sunday, April 7th, by Martha Smock, one of our Unity precious writers, she has something, let this be your prayer. And I printed out copies so you'd all have one if you don't have it. It says, let this be your prayer, to live one day at a time. One moment at a time, one step at a time. Let this be your prayer, to have the strength and the will to keep on going on. One more day, one more moment, one more song, one more prayer, one more deviled egg. One more. Let this be your prayer, to have the wisdom to handle the affairs of your life. That we have the ability to make good and right decisions. And then be okay with them. To have the courage to let the past go and to forge ahead resolutely. Yeah. To have the grace to meet each experience expectantly and happily. That's real unity. And when you don't feel happy about it, you just read that and go, it'll come. It'll come. It's coming. To have the faith to know there's no loss or separation in God, and then in God, you are forever one with those that you love. No separation. To have the vision to see the good, good, good in all things. To see the Christ in all persons. To have the awareness of God's presence, close abiding. I love that word, abiding. The dude abides. Sorry, I had to say it. Eddie. To know that underneath are the everlasting arms, that God will never fail you nor forsake you. Let this be your prayer. Let this be our prayer. I'm declaring right now, it is my prayer. And so it is. So we declare it to be. So we let it be. And so we let the good flow. Amen? Amen. Amen and amen. Thank you.